Hey folks, welcome. Here we discuss real stories by real people. Today we have the story of a man who finds out his newborn son isn't his. Let's see how it goes. Tom and I have been buddies going back years. We met while we were effing around at our apartment complex as kids, doing really bad stuff like going around shooting cars with airsoft guns. I think it's been 15 years, something like that. We grew up together, went to the same school, hung out with the same people and all that. Tom has always been a nice guy, but he's always been like a pushover, you know. Like he doesn't really stand up for himself that much and lets things happen. He's a big dude too, so it's weird to see how passive he is. That personality of his is how he got together with his recent, now ex-girlfriend, Tammy. So we met Tammy in high school. I don't even remember how we started hanging out with her. She was always just like around. Almost every time we would hang out in a group, Tammy would show up. She was like a bad habit, and we just never got around to telling her to F off and stay F'd off. I think none of us wanted to be that person who told her to leave, or maybe we all just thought that she was friends with someone in the group and nobody knew who it was. I don't know. She's not pleasant to say the least. She's annoying, she ignores social cues, she loves to involve herself in things that do not involve her. I don't like her, as you might have guessed. Nobody does. Tom did actually, but I'm not totally convinced that he started dating Tammy because she was available rather than he actually liked her. They got together right out of high school, and they somehow stayed together for over 5 years. Tammy would just control Tom anytime they were with us, like leading him by the hand, controlling him, talking over and clarifying what he meant when he talked, contradicting and overriding him whenever she could. It was ugly. We tried to talk Tom out of this relationship, but it was like talking to a brick wall. He'd say that we were right, and that he'd think about it, and then a week later, we'd see them together. It was infuriating, but he at least seemed happy, so we just kind of let it go after all. Things started changing around 2 years ago, I think. We started noticing that things between Tom and Tammy were starting to sour. Tom started getting more and more frustrated by how he was being treated and how selfish Tammy was acting. At first, it was like little things when she would remind him of something he would just tersely tell her that he remembers and doesn't need to be reminded. I remember one time when I was with them, we were looking at a menu at a restaurant and she was just going off about what she wanted to order and how she couldn't decide yada yada. She told him to get something so that they could share, and he just told her he was going to get what he wanted and that was that. This might seem like a minor thing to you, but to me, that was like a major shot across the bow. It was the most I had ever seen him stand up to her in their entire relationship up to that point. So we were getting hyped for the breakup and were ready to celebrate the entire time. I guess Tammy started feeling like she was losing control, and rather than correct her behavior, she became even more hostile and controlling. She started getting loud in public to pressure Tom into backing down. It was really bad. Maybe she thought doubling down on the browbeating would turn things around for her. I don't know. But it didn't work out the way she thought because Tom started fighting back even more. This is where things started getting bad. The two of them would just openly argue now, sometimes getting so loud they would have to leave wherever we are for a couple of minutes to settle down. I don't know why they didn't end up just calling it quits and breaking up once this started happening. It really felt like we were one more fight away from them ending the relationship. They were arguing in public. In private, it must have been super bad. Right when things were about to end, we got the news that Tammy was pregnant. Truly tragic. Tom wasn't about to leave her while she was pregnant. He immediately went back to doing anything she wanted, this time for the sake of the baby. I felt like it was a rock and a hard place for him since the relationship was so bad. They both kind of mellowed out during her pregnancy, and while you could still tell there was some tension there, they didn't have any public breakdowns like they were having before. Tammy was really happy about that, but Tom was living on the edge. He wasn't ready to be a father and was especially not ready to be a father to Tammy's baby. A couple of days ago, I headed to their place to pick up some furniture they were giving away. We're shooting the shit when Tom and I hear Tammy shouting from the other room. Her water was breaking. We pile into a truck, and I drive the two of them to the hospital while Tom is keeping her calm in the back. Once everything gets settled and we get Tammy into a hospital room, I'm sitting with Tom and I'm talking with him about what his plans were. The nurse or doctor or whoever she was tells us that she's close, and if we want to see the birth, we should come in. Tom goes in while I wait outside the room waiting for news. I hear the loudest "what the F" I've ever heard in my entire life and see Tom storming out of the room. There's some commotion coming from the room, so I thought it might have been something really bad. I go up to Tom and try to figure out what's going on, and he just has the most furious expression on his face. He can't even talk to me straight. He's so mad. Instead, he just points into the room. I pop my head in and see Tammy holding her baby. There's a problem though. The baby's beautiful. Tiny little guy with a little strip of blonde or ginger hair. White as the winter snow though. Tammy and Tom are both black. As far as I'm aware, neither of them have any white ancestry either. So that's not Tom's baby. I took Tom home while we let Tammy stay in the hospital. He didn't say a single word the entire car ride. When we got there, Tom just told me he wanted to be alone for a while. Yesterday, we all got together, and you would think Tom had a gigantic weight lifted off his shoulders. He told us that he doesn't know who the father is, but he does not care since he's not raising him, and he and Tammy are finally over. She's been trying to get into contact with him, but we're just icing her out now. Tom wants a DNA test just to be sure, but I really doubt that's going to change things around. Here's hoping Tom stays lucky. Last update. They took the DNA test. It's not his. The man is free. Tom is a lucky man, OP. He dodged a bullet with this one. Not only was Tammy toxic and controlling, but she was a cheater too. Tom seems like the kind of person to stay with someone like that because they've got a baby together. So I'm really glad he discovered the truth and didn't end up with Tammy. She would have ruined him. You're a good friend, OP. Thank you for looking out for your friend and being there for him. Hopefully next time your friend gets into the dating world, he's more lucky with love. Story 2. Me, 45 male, with my wife 47 of 23 years, sexless marriage after kids. To start off with, been a long-time lurker of Reddit. I love the insight, inspiration, and mood-changing, life-altering commentary that comes from such a collective. My situation. I'll try to make this simple. Work, high school, work, some college while working. Poor family background. Met my wife doing the same from a similar background. Marriage and kids happened while in college. I quit and we moved to where I can make more money to support our growing family. Let me say one of our attractions to each other in the start of our relationship was sex. We loved it and we did it 5 to 10 times a week. Put aside the sex, I had still found the love of my life. I knew there would never be anyone like her. We have 3 wonderful kids, and she manages to finish her degree and get a master's and rejoin the workforce. Our life was peachy until this time where she finishes her degree program and starts working. Our sex life drops to once a month and progresses to less than that. We start to argue more, and usually it's about sex and the lack thereof. Time passes and things get worse. Less sex, arguments lead to explanations of early menopause and such. I think I'm a caring and compassionate guy and back off. Years go by, and arguments still happen, just not as often, but over the same shit. I drink more and work more. I can tell she's resentful that I make 3 times her salary even with her education. Let's fast forward to a time when I now have 2 in college, and 1 left in high school, and more arguments about sex. She checks my email and finds where I drunkenly responded to a Craigslist sex ad. I admitted it and said I had done so several times when drunk. I have never cheated or done anything close to cheating. I told her I masturbate to online porn, which she already knew, and even it gets boring and just communicating with someone who acts like they want to have sex is a bit satisfying. Let me interject that at this point, we're going 2 years or so without sex at a time. And so another large argument commences. She says that is something that puts our marriage at risk, and she continues to state that she only has done 2 things that she considers putting our marriage at risk. She once had cybersex early in our marriage, and the only other thing was choosing not to have sex with her husband. Ooh. This is something that's been gnawing at me for years now. I knew the early menopause thing was an excuse after a few months. But to later learn our lack of sex was just her decision, I'm floored. More than half my life, basically a lifetime, has been with her. I have always loved her. I no longer trust her, and for the first time in several years, she's tried to initiate sex and I turned her down. Because I no longer trust her emotionally. The heartburn, heartache, hemorrhoids, and ulcers. I cleared that all up when I stopped giving a shit and when I realized that it was her choice not to have sex, not to participate in that aspect of a relationship. Is she having an affair? I don't know, and I'm really not sure if I care. What I do care about is whether this relationship can be salvaged. I do respect the opinions and comments, or otherwise I never would have put this out here. It did take about 4 weeks and tonight about 13 drinks before I started typing. I know there will be comments about how I should have left the relationship earlier, but when I married this girl, I made a vow, and when we had children, I made a commitment. I will do everything to honor my commitment and provide everything I can. I have no doubt my wife feels the same, but I do not think she has any idea of my mental state or the fact that our marriage is at an end. I can't bish anymore about lack of sex because it only ends in situations that will eventually land us on an episode of Cops or some stupid shit. I know I'm starting to ramble because I'm still drinking, but I need to get this out. It's not that I don't do anything for her. A large 4K square foot house with in-ground pool, cars, clothes, trips. I'm there for her emotionally and listen to her problems from work. I don't know what I've done wrong. Reddit, offer insight, inspiration, and possible solutions, please. I'm sorry this is happening to your marriage, OP. You seem stuck and heartbroken. I can't imagine how hurt you must have felt when you discovered that the only reason why you and your wife were probably in the bedroom was because she decided to stop having sex with you. I would advise you to try counseling. And if she's reluctant or resistant to that, then I would advise you to get a divorce. You can't and shouldn't continue to live like this. Now for some comments. It's time to stand up for yourself. You're not getting any younger. My parents had a very nasty divorce when I was a freshman in high school that took over 2 years to sort out. My brother and I were fine. We were thrilled to see our mom happy again. Your kids will be happy for you too. It's time to focus on you and make yourself whole again. It's in the best interest for everyone. After you're divorced, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. Your kids are focused on themselves right now anyway. This is the best time for you to divorce. Well, all I can say is that the courts recognize sexual abandonment as a perfectly good reason to sue for divorce. And that means we understand in our culture that cutting someone off from any hope of intimacy is cruel. She has been cruel, and for her to blow it off like, well, there was that one little thing, shows a shocking selfishness. If you dump her and get one badass lawyer, I won't blame you. Because a woman who cuts you off while you support her and the children and then judges you for jacking off deserves to live in a one-bedroom apartment. It won't kill her. Ignore her completely in all aspects of life. If you do some housework, stop it. If she talks to you, go to a different room. Get late from work and from time to time sneak out in the evening. That will make her realize that the problem really exists. If she thinks you're having an affair, good for you. This has 3 possible results. A. She'll see you as more attractive and start doing what she's supposed to. B. She will freak out and accuse you of cheating. At this point, she pretty much has to consciously acknowledge her responsibility for it, which can lead to her totally losing it, might be useful for divorce. C. She will ignore it because you're literally nothing to her.